It is time to get to work on the Rallye 350. I've been involved in a bunch of other projects and the car has sat for a long time, but now it is time to get busy and get to work on it. Well, the weather's starting to get nice here in Arizona. I'm going to start working on the Rallye 350. And what I need to do is put in a new flywheel and clutch. But while I have all the parts out, I might as well do a little cleaning and painting. So right now what I'm going to do, I have a sanding disc in my angle grinder. I'm going to go ahead and sand this drive shaft and get it ready for a repaint. I have the drive shaft sanded. And I have it cleaned up pretty well. So now I'm going to give it a coat of primer. I have the drive shaft primered. So I'll let it sit in the sun for a little while. And after I think it's dried long enough, I'll go stand it up in a corner in the garage somewhere. Well, I think I'm just going to let the drive shaft sit here for now. I think I've decided to go ahead and put some new U-joints in it, so I'll have to order those. And once I have new U-joints installed, and then I'll finish painting it. Having a heck of a time getting these U-joints out. You know, apparently there's plastic down in here. I've heated these up with a map torch. I'm going to let this cool down. Once it cools down, I'll see if I can pound the U-joints out. But it's been a real challenge. Now I got the other end out. But this end has been a lot of trouble. After flailing for a couple hours, I remembered that my ball joint tool, I was thinking, well, that might work, and it does. And these U-joints, there's plastic inside here, and I have to break through that. Now, when I put the heat to it, a lot of that plastic came out, but it didn't all come out. So I had to break through that plastic in order to get these caps to push through. But I'm on the road now. I'm going to get this done. I painted the drive shaft with steel and cast iron. And the steel is Rust-Oleum and the cast iron is Duplicolor. And here's the drive shaft all cleaned and painted. The yokes are cast iron, and then the drive shaft itself was painted the steel color. So I certainly think that looks better than rust. The transmission yoke has been soaking in purple cleaner for a couple days. So I'll scrub that with a nylon bristle brush, get that cleaned up, take it out, and I'm going to paint the end of the yoke with the cast iron color. So I'll get that out, get that cleaned up. Well, I've gotten to the point where I'm ready to install new U-joints in the drive shaft. But as is often the case, an Oldsmobile is not a Chevy, which, that's obvious at first take. But what I mean by that is, a Chevelle and a Cutlass are both GMA bodies, and there are a lot of parts that interchange between the two. But there are also a lot of things that are different. Now, a Chevelle uses a 1310 U-joint. Now, this Cutlass uses a 1330 big cap U-joint. And so you have a hard time finding information online because it's specific to the olds. Now, the Pontiac may also use a 1330 big cap. I don't know. I've never owned an A-body GTO, so I don't know. Now, I ordered some Moog Super Strength U-joints. Now, by the Super Strength, they're solid There's no grease channels. And the U-joints that came out of the car, you see have a grease fitting here. Now, at first look, these are the same. They both have 1.125 inch caps. And when you put them up together, they look like they're the same height, although the Moog U-joint is 50 thousandths wider. And if you look at where the grooves are for the C-clips, you can see the grooves in the caps are slightly different. And so that always leaves me with a little bit of a question as to, well, do I got the right part? Do I not have the right part? All right, well, these Moog U-joints, number 234, do not fit. So I'm going to have to remove them. I have gone through a crazy ordeal with U-joints. Now, I ordered those Moog super strength U-joints, and they did not fit. The C-clip groove on the caps of the Moog U-joints were too far into the yoke, and I couldn't get the C-clips on. So I took my old U-joint to a couple of local parts stores, and I had the parts guy pull out every 1330 series big cap U-joint he had in stock, and it ended up, after going through about 8 different U-joints, I found one U-joint that works. And this is a Duralast U-joint from AutoZone, and this is the part number. This was the only one I found that was a match to my original U-joint. Now, if you look at the dimensions here, I'm going to take and measure the original, match it up to the Duralast, take the original, match it up to the Duralast. So this is a direct replacement for this. Now, I wanted a solid U-joint without a grease fitting, just for strength, but realistically, my Rallye 350, I'm just going to cruise it, so I'm not going to drive it hard, and these should work just fine. So that's what I have. And even with this, they only had one, and so I had to special order a second one. In a few days, I'll have to go pick that up, but I just had a hell of a time getting U-joints. Well, before attaching the yoke to the drive shaft, I have some 1500 grit paper here. So I'm going to polish up this yoke a little bit. You can see it has a little bit of scoring in here. So take and polish this up just a little bit. Try to clean that up as best I can. Don't want any leaks if we can help it. All right, all I should need to install this U-joint is my dead blow hammer, and I'll use the brass end of the hammer. And I may need something to install the C-clips, but I'm not going to need many tools. Now, the grease fitting is pretty much straight up and down, so it doesn't really matter how I orient the U-joint, whether it's this way or this way. So I need to remove 2 caps. All right. Insert this cap, get it started. And I'm going to want to push the U-joint up into the cap so that the needle bearings don't come out. All right. So I have this cap, not quite flush, but it's pretty far down. So now I can come over here on this side and get this cap going. And I'm going to pull the U-joint up to keep those needle bearings in place. All right, so I have this cap just about flush, not quite. So now I want to check the grooves for the snap rings. And these look pretty good. I think those will fit, and you can see the U-joint moves freely. Moves freely. All right, the transmission yoke is essentially the same thing. Get the caps off. Get the yoke in place. Start one cap. All right. Flip it over. Okay, that clip is in. And that clip is in. All right, so now I'm going to take a little bit of white grease and just put some white grease on the inside here. Just rub it around. And just a bit on the outside. All right. So this end's taken care of. I'm going to install the U-joint, and this end goes to the rear end yoke. Using the same U-joint that I installed on the front of the drive shaft. Had a hard time finding U-joints to fit this. Now what I want to do is I'm going to orient the grease fitting so that way when I position the drive shaft to grease it, I won't have to reposition the drive shaft to grease one end or the other. These two caps go to the rear end yoke. So I'm going to go ahead and tape those now. And I won't need to remove this tape until I'm ready to install the drive shaft. So those caps aren't going anywhere. So I'm going to remove this cap, this cap. Just slide the U-joint into place. Oh, I want to mention that I used 1000 grit sandpaper and I sanded inside here to clean this up. So I should have a nice surface. When I install the caps, they should go in smoothly. And I'm using a dead blow. I put a little bit of masking tape on the brass end because it's getting kind of rough, and I've had little small flakes of brass come off, so I need to clean this up. But for now, I'm just going to put a little masking tape over that. All right, so I'm going to put this cap in place, and now I'm going to push the U-joint up into the cap. So I don't want the needle bearings coming out. All right, you can see that the cap is now in far enough where the C-clip fits into the groove. So now I'm going to go ahead, roll the drive shaft over, and install the other cap. And I'll do the same as I did on the other side, as I'll lift the U-joint up to make sure the needle bearings don't come out. All right, so I lift the U-joint up. So now the C-clip has enough clearance to fit. So to finish it off, all I have to do is pop the C-clips into place. And that's it. I mean, it's done. It was the hardest part, obviously, is getting the old U-joints out. And once I have the correct U-joint and I prepare the surfaces, well, it's no real big deal to get them installed. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was some information here that was useful to you. The drive shaft is now ready to install. I'll bag up each of the ends with plastic grocery bags and set the drive shaft aside. But it'll be ready to install when I get to that point. And I'll continue working on doing some restoration work on the Rallye 350. And of course, we're doing all this work with just basic tools. Any guy can do this. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time.